The pitch is everywhere: become a virtual assistant, work from a laptop, replace your salary. And unlike most online income pitches, this one is built on something real, actual clients paying actual money for actual work. So the question isn't whether anyone makes a living as a VA. They do. The question is what the math actually requires, where the ceiling sits, and what separates the people clearing a real full-time income from the people stuck running on a treadmill of cheap hourly tasks. We audited the numbers on going full-time as a virtual assistant. First, define the target. Full-time VA income means replacing a real salary, reliably, month after month. Call the realistic bar somewhere around $40,000 to $60,000 a year after expenses. Now, the first thing the data shows is that there is no single VA rate. There are two completely different markets wearing the same job title. In the United States, the typical virtual assistant earns a little over $19 an hour by the median wage data, with experienced operators reaching $45 or more. Offshore, and the Philippines is the center of this market, general VAs charge roughly $3 to $7 an hour, with specialists reaching the mid-teens. That is not a small gap. A United States VA can charge 5 to 10 times what an offshore VA charges for work that, on the surface, looks identical. So before you ask whether you can go full-time, you have to ask which market you are actually competing in, because that single fact sets the entire ceiling. Now run the straightforward version of the math, the one the marketing shows you. A United States general VA at $25 an hour, working a standard 2,000 billable hours a year, would gross $50,000. That clears the full-time bar cleanly, and it is why the pitch sounds so achievable. But the words 2,000 billable hours are carrying almost all the weight in that sentence, and they are quietly false. Because in a real service business, not every working hour is a billable hour. You spend unpaid time finding clients, sending proposals, invoicing, doing admin, fixing problems, and waiting between contracts. Veteran VAs put the real number at roughly 5 to 6 billable hours in a working day, not 8. So the honest annual figure isn't 2,000 billable hours. It's closer to 12 or 1,300. And that one correction quietly knocks a third or more off the income the simple math promised. Then there's the cut almost nobody budgets for. Most new VAs start where the clients are easiest to find, on freelance platforms, and those platforms take a meaningful slice off the top. Fiverr charges a flat 20% service fee on everything a seller earns. Upwork recently moved away from its old tiered system, where the first $500 with the client was taxed at 20%, to a variable model that runs from 0 to 15% per contract, and in practice most freelancers land somewhere around 10 to 13% blended. Layer that on top of the billable hours problem and the picture sharpens. A VA grossing $40,000 through Fiverr keeps roughly $32,000 after the platform's cut, and that is before self-employment tax, before software subscriptions, before any health insurance they now have to buy themselves. The platform solved the hardest problem, which is finding clients. But they price that service aggressively, and they extract it from every single hour you bill. Now the structural problem at the heart of the whole job. A virtual assistant who charges by the hour is selling a fixed, non-renewable resource, their own time. There are only so many billable hours in a day, and once they are sold, the income stops. This is the hours for dollars trap, and it puts a hard mathematical lid on the business. Take a solid general VA billing 5 good hours a day, 240 days a year, at $30 an hour. That is about $36,000, and to earn it, they are personally doing every minute of the work. To earn more, they have only 2 levers: raise the rate or sell more hours. But hours are capped by the calendar and the human body, and the rate is capped by what a general administrative task is worth on an open market flooded with offshore VAs charging a fraction of the price. A general hourly VA isn't really running a business yet. They have bought themselves a job, one with no paid time off, no sick days, and a ceiling they will hit within a year or two of going full-time. So how does anyone break the ceiling? The first lever is specialization, and the data on it is dramatic. The word assistant is doing a lot of hiding. A general administrative VA inbox, scheduling data entry, sits at the bottom of the rate card, $15 to $25 an hour, in brutal direct competition with the entire offshore market. But step into a specialty and the rate card transforms. A bookkeeping VA commands $35 to $75 an hour. A social media manager runs $35 to $70. An executive assistant supporting a founder reaches $50 to $85. And a technical VA, Someone who can build automations, manage a website, run the software stack, bills $75 to over $100 an hour. That is not a small bump. Specializing can multiply a VA's rate by 3 to 5 times for roughly the same number of hours. The reason is simple supply and demand. Anyone can offer to manage an inbox, so that work is cheap. Far fewer people can reconcile the books or rebuild the automation pipeline, so that work is expensive. The single biggest predictor of a VA's income is not how many hours they work, it is how replaceable the work is. The second lever is the one that actually turns a VA gig into a VA business, and it is a shift in what you are selling. The hourly freelancer sells time, so their income is capped by their own calendar. The VA who builds a business stops selling time and starts selling 2 other things: retained outcomes and other people's hours. Watch the progression. First, they move clients off the hourly meter and onto monthly retainers, a fixed fee, often $500 to $5,000 or more a month, for a defined package of work, which converts unpredictable gig income into a stable, recurring base they can actually forecast a salary against. Then, as demand grows past their own capacity, instead of turning work away or burning out, they subcontract it, hiring or partnering with other VAs, taking a margin on each, and stepping into the role of an agency owner. That is the inflection point. The hourly VA earns only when they personally work. The agency owner earns on a team's hours, and the income finally decouples from their own calendar. The ones who break past the low 5-figure ceiling almost all made this exact move. They stopped being the worker and started being the business. So, can you really make a full-time income as a virtual assistant? Yes. And unlike most laptop income pitches, this one is grounded in real demand and real money. But the honest version comes with a fork in the road. If you stay a general hourly VA competing on an open market against offshore rates a fraction of yours, you can reach a modest full-time income, but you will hit a hard ceiling fast, and you will have bought yourself a demanding job with no benefits and no time off. The people who build something more did 2 specific things. They specialized into work that is hard to replace, which multiplied their rate, and they shifted from selling hours to selling retained outcomes and, eventually, a team's hours. The single sharpest filter is this question: are you selling your time, or are you building something that earns when you are not at the keyboard? The general VA sells time, and time is capped. The VA business owner sells a system, and a system can scale. Same job title. 2 completely different ceilings.